Welcome to the Office Event Summary Table training video. In this video, we're going to explain what the summary table is, when to use it, and how to use it. So here's my summary table. So how to actually create this table, and a typical user that would be using this table would be probably someone that's using Atom for bookkeeping or payroll, where you'd have multiple events open at the same time, and you actually would have quite a few events in one account year. So it may not be as useful for tax prep, but it definitely would be useful for the bookkeeping and payroll and for using Office Events. So to actually display this table, how to do that, if I scroll up, here's my Office Events section. If you look over to the right, it has organized by status. So I have it checked. That's why the table is displaying and none of my events are displaying. So if I uncheck this, table will disappear. And I have a whole list of Office events, which it can be very hard to stay organized when you have that many events to go through. So I'm going to scroll back up to the top and I check this box. Now I have it displayed as show all events, but if I check to show only open events, this is typically what you'd see when you go into a client file when you're using it for, say, bookkeeping or payroll. You'd have all the open events that are going to happen at some date to remind you to actually do this task. Say, for example, payroll. So I have it set that my start date is 12/16 and also my due date and assign date are 12/16. So my payroll is due on the 16th. So this, I don't actually have to be reminded today to do that because today is December 10th. So to hide these, what I do is I check the box, organize by status, and because I have it, my title bar is to show only open events. I'm only going to see, as soon as I check this box, I'm only going to see open events that are actually currently due right now. So because I have none, because my next due date is 12/16, I won't see any of that until on that date 12/16. So now if I go down to my table here, payroll, days after the next due date, -6, my next due date is 12/16. So I have 6 days before I have to actually worry about that event, that task, or to be reminded to do that task. If I want to take a look at that one, though, if I click on the view icon, that will display, and again, because in my title bar I want to only show my open events. If I wanted to click on all events, I'd left click here, but right now I have it selected to only show open events. So when I clicked on the view icon, I'm focusing just on payroll and only my open office events, which happen to be the one that's going to be due December 16th. I can do the same thing for my federal withholding. So I'm only going to focus in on this. And I have everything else, all those office events that you saw as I scrolled through, which probably close to maybe 75. They're all organized nicely in this table. I never lose anything. It's always there. It's just I don't need to be overburdened with all those events. So I'm trying to remove the clutter from my page. So that's what the view icon would do. It's just a way of looking at a specific event. Now, if I want to come up here, left click to show all my events. Now for federal withholding, it's going to show me everything open and closed. But again, this is a long list. I only need to focus in on this if I have to go back and see what took place at a prior date. Go ahead and click on my title bar again, just focusing in on the open event. Status here, these are just what I've named my office events in admin. Now I kind of grouped them and made them nice and pretty here and organized it. So I took an office event and I created it and I just use it and called it bi-weekly, one monthly, quarterly, annually. So you can do that too if you'd like to make it look better here in the summary table. Days after next due date, which we talked about a little bit. This is the next due date is going to be, in this case, the federal withholding. The due date is the event due date, December 16th. So I'm 6 days away from that. That's why it's a -6. And here's the due date, December 16th. Closed events. So when I go ahead and select the left title bar here, these are all my events that are closed out. I've completed them. So I'm going to go ahead and hide those again. So I have 11 closed events, and then there's one that's open, and that's the one that's going to be due on December 16th. The average DADD, DAD, which stands for days after the due date, the next due date. So if you want to use this column to try to calculate and see easily if you're completing jobs or tasks timely, are you doing them after the due date? Are you doing them before the due date? This will give you an average. So in this example here, payroll, I'm 1 day on average, 1 day over the payroll due date. Mostly I'm actually performing before the due dates. So that's good. Budgeted hours, this is being pulled directly from my billable column here. Right here, if I have budgeted hours or billing rate. If I have any of that, it'll give me a total for that particular office event. So let's focus right now and we'll go back to payroll because I have some more data in here. So I have budget hours 11. My billable hours, again, this is being pulled from the exact same, it's just totaled from the billable for all my events that are closed out. So right now I have budgeted 11. I actually have billable hours of 8.5. So my variance is negative 2.5. So if I figure this should take me 11 hours to perform these, like an hour per event for payroll, if it takes me an hour and I'm actually doing it in less time, that's a good thing. That means I'm actually spending less hours on it, but I'm going to be billing the client probably for what I'm budgeting. So you can use that to see if you're staying above or below your budgeted hours. And the billable amount, that's going to be strictly coming from the billable column. And that's just the amount of time I spend, my billable hours, time, whatever my billing rate is. So lastly is a summary, where I can have a summary of this information. And it takes me over to another page, which I call the Client Daily Office Event Summary. This is focusing in strictly on payroll. I could switch this over to another event here, federal withholding, go back to payroll. These are my 12 events. One is open. That's the one that was due December 16th. And the other 11 are closed. So here it gives me some more detail, some more summary numbers. If I click on my name, I can see exactly who did the work on this for payroll, because I could have multiple users, but in this case, Mark did everything. And these are the dates, the start dates that I performed the work. That it was in this case, my start date actually equals my due date. Here's my budgeted hours. I can focus in and try to find out, is there any time I may have went over budget? And there actually was. If you look here, it's highlighted in red. So on November 4th, for some reason, I went over. So I could actually focus in and go directly into, get more detail if I go into that client file where that actual office event is and see what took place, why was that over. But as an owner, you can kind of focus in and see a nice picture really easily, more summary tables to see what's taking place, and is your staff performing where you want them to perform based on the budgeted amounts. Again, here's the budget amount, here's billable amount, and then the variance. If I scroll down further, there's another table we're going to compare. If you're using Atom for your billing, you can track the billable events. So that's what we've been focusing on, the billable amounts. And you can see if you're actually, charging them either the same amount or maybe even more, which would be great. So if your billable amount saying this amount and you're actually charging them, say, $500, then the variance would be $75, and that would be in your favor. So a lot of reports you can use to try to focus in on, are things being done timely based on due dates? If you want to compare budgeted to billable amounts, you can do that all through your office events. For more information, visit our website at atommanager.com.